And I'm going, Ray, you got to get out of here. You know, it was the first night of the fire, and I finally got him talking. He finally left, and as you can imagine, and his home was scorched, but they saved it. Yeah. So,
in terms of the future, I mean, we have the flooding issues for a while. That'll for a couple of years, frankly, until.
That's correct. In the Mayor area specifically, these folks here, not too many really live on a drainage. But in the Mayor area, we have, you know, 2 mobile home parks right on the water, and multiple homes that are on the water, even a couple businesses.
Is any of the reseeding going on over here? The Bear team?
No.
Okay.
And you look here, you can see the green coming up here and there, so it's already starting to come back on its own. It didn't burn too hot. Actually, they tell me that the chaparral, when it does burn, it's a good thing. Not only because of fire, now they've done some fire abatement here, Mother Nature has, but on the flip side, these trees actually rejuvenate with that carbon that goes back into the ground. You know, farmers do that. They'll burn their crops every couple of years and brings that carbon back into the ground and uses it as fertilizer.
Oh, the nice thing, this won't take the 200 years to come back like a ponderosa pine.
That's it, you know, and I was at the Wallow Fire and about 3 weeks ago, and again, it's, you know, the aspen come back and the oak come back, but the ponderosas are not.
This must be, have looked like this before the fire, right?
All of it looked like this in this area, right? And this valley, at this elevation, this is about 5,500. And so at this elevation, you need the wetter, drier canyons and valleys to get ponderosa to grow. You have to get up close to 65 to 7,000 where ponderosas will actually start growing on the hills. See, it came around the side of Big Bug Mesa and then worked its way here. And then as it came down, you can see we lost a couple homes over here. One of them was scorched. You can see APS is still in here putting new poles in. We had one house around that corner there. You can see where the mine dump is around the corner. There's actually a home over there. That was saved. Up in this canyon over here is Breezy Pines. We did lose a structure up there, but they did a very good job. Pete will explain to you what's going on. You see all the bales of straw, and he'll explain what the Bear team is doing.
So the straw is really as simple as for stabilization. What they'll end up doing is probably mixing that straw with
Where'd they get all that, by the way?
I don't know the source, to be honest with you. It looks to be either alfalfa or hay. It may just be old stuff.
I think it's supposed to be straw.
Straw? Yeah, because otherwise it'll take seed.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So it's inert, whatever it is. And they'll mix that with native seed. And what they'll end up doing is the use of a helicopter. They've got areas already identified as priority for runoff.
Mostly, just where the watershed.
Yeah. The idea is the straw, first of all, will help keep the seed in place, hopefully through the rains, and also deter a little bit of the runoff. And then it's quick germinating seed. Sometimes some oats and some other stuff is in that mix, so that it'll take seed right away this fall and helps start to stabilize the soil. But you can see some of it's already doing it on its own.
Yeah, it is.
That is not our work. All of that green.
Claim credit for it. Come on.
Well, we'll give Mother Nature credit. She has a way of dealing with these things.
I'm still finding it hard to believe that fire went from where we were over here in the same day.
All in one day. In a matter of hours.
Yes.
It's a matter of hours.
Just unbelievable. It'd be terrifying to be right here.
The craziest, then we have another fire. We have an incident, all the way over to Type 1 team here. We have another fire on the other side of the highway coming out of what used to be the old Cave Creek Complex fire. That thing started on the backside of Black Canyon City and Cave Creek in New River area. And it started with, I think it was 26 acres or something when they finally got to it in the first initial attack. And it went to 16,000 acres in one night.
Oh my goodness.
One night.
All grass.
All grass. But here, you know, it's shepherd.
So that's part of the work they're doing. Of course, a lot of the stabilization and emergency rehabilitation work involves closing the roads.
This line on utilities, looks like I can see it going there, but I lost it just as soon as it got. Where does that go to?
Well,
It did end.
Go across?
There is no power up there either.
Okay.
They're off the grid up there. It goes up towards what they call Poland Junction up here. They did some, APS did some temporary work to get power on to everybody because, you know, we're concerned on the health reasons and food and everything So, but some of that, as I alluded to, was temporary, and so they had to come back in and actually put permanent poles in.
All right. Well, what I mean, we've got the rest of the monsoon, which will go till potentially mid-September. So, but you can, it ought to see some green here soon.
Yeah, I would think within a matter of weeks, ordinarily, when we do this kind of work, some of that early germination will happen within a few weeks.
Unfortunately, this little canyon here called Grapevine, it goes up on the other side of that ridge and it goes up there. It was one of my favorite little sneaky places that a lot of people didn't know about it. It has a perennial stream, and it had aspen and it was fir and spruce. It was absolutely gorgeous. Big trees. And
we're just on the other side of that town.
yeah, believe it or not.
It's that V right there. Isn't that the top of it, Tom?
Yeah, that's the very top of it.
Okay,
Right,
see a
on
little
the
bit of green
right-hand
left up at the top.
A little bit of green left. That's all. Most of it's all burned. When do you think, Pete, on these trails, they'll let people actually go back on the trails?
At a minimum, we're trying to get through monsoon season, but I would say probably they'll reassess in the spring, just to see what the fall and winter rains might do.
Would you cut trees down along a trail just for safety purposes so the trail could get back open?
Yep. If the trail is repairable, yeah, that'll be part of the plan. Will be to take out the hazard trees.
We don't know a lot of these trails because I'm also the trails guy. These floods have probably
20 hats.
21.
Jack of all trades.
We don't know what the monsoon flooding is. Have you been up there yet?
I haven't.
I haven't either. I need to go up there and check it out. It's going to be tough to roll the hole for a couple of years.
Wow. That's a lot of territory.
Yeah. But if it would have gone over, see what their worry was, if it had gone over those hills right there, you see those hills with pine trees? And it drops right down in the Walker, which is a huge old mining community, but there's probably 300-400 homes just in the Walker area.
Wow.
And it made a beeline to the city of Prescott.
Over there.
Yeah, a lot more pines, yeah. And so it would have made a beeline to the city of Prescott. So the incident team knew that, and they did everything they could. I mean, 1,250 boots on the ground at one time. We had the VLAs running, we had the heavy tankers running, and we had the helicopters running. And so, I mean, they hit it hard. And thank God the wind quit. You know, the first few days the wind was coming out of the west at 30 to 40, and it made a rough fight and stay safe. So,
Well, thank you.
Nice to see you.
Federal agencies, do we need to change the way these fires are addressed? Obviously, what do we need to do for fuel reduction in the future? The situation here with the topography and the type of fuel load is completely different from what we're dealing with in most of the 4-5 areas. So, that's what we're looking at. But I have been pleased across the board. The sheriff's office, board of supervisors, mayors, they've been pleased with the way the federal agencies have responded. And then also dealing right now with the aftermath, the flooding whenever you have a fire like this, particularly with the big elevations. We saw it with the Schultz fire years ago in Flagstaff, or outside of Flagstaff, and you're having it here. So to have the Forest Service and others following up, in terms of reseeding, is important. We've still got a lot of monsoon to go.
Last week you sent a letter to the district forester of the region talking about requesting some more information about the processes and determining what mitigation projects to prioritize.
Yeah.
Have you heard back about that? And
No.
how does that factor in?
We're in touch with Cal Joyner and others. I expect to hear back soon. But whenever you have something like this, you reevaluate and get input as to what we can do better. And obviously, the biggest challenge is fuel reduction. This fire, unfortunately, took care of a lot of that in this area, but you still have areas where we're going to need to do fuel mitigation and efforts before we get to the next fire. And what we want to know is, before we get there, what can we do? Do we need to change processes? Do we need to reprioritize? Obviously, over the long term, we've been trying to stop this fire borrowing, where we expend all of our resources fighting the fire and we don't leave anything to to reduce fuel loads. And that's a long-term effort that Senator McCain and I have been working on for a long time. We have been pleased, particularly with the northern forests, with 4-Fry in particular. We're trying to get up to 50,000 acres a year. If we can get there, then we feel that we'll be where we need to be. We're not there yet, but we've moved a lot faster in the last couple of years. Well,
so what was your first response when you saw the burn area in that area?
You know, I'd seen video and talked to some people, but still the scale of it was shocking. And the speed of the fire just still blows me away. I can't believe that where we were just a few minutes ago, it was clear over the hill that in one day it came across. That's the fastest moving fire I've ever seen.
Yeah. It even jumped the freeway in some spots.
Yeah, and it was spotting what, 400 or 500 feet away. That's a lot of wind.
Had a potential to go all the way out to Orem, and then up to Walker and into Prescott.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, this is devastating. 28,000 acres is big, and it's going to, you know, economic activity and public use and recreation is going to be impacted. But fortunately, the impact on the communities and structures was minimized, and so that's good news.
One of the things they said at the press conferences during the fire was that this was the fire that they had all been waiting for and afraid of, that this was the one that they were so concerned about. And so what can the federal government do to help prevent those fires, the ones that are on the top of the list, before that happens?
I mean, here, like I say, it's difficult enough when you have ponderosa pine forest to have you know, private partners willing to come in when they can, you know, whether it's biomass or pellet facilities, or to get some economic use, and to partner with the federal government. We don't have enough money in the treasury to treat all the acreage we need to treat, so we need private partners. It's a lot more difficult when you're dealing with scrub oak and manzanita. Just the economic use just isn't there, and so it's far more difficult to go in and do fire mitigation efforts on a large scale. But you can still, what we've got to do is figure out where we put fire breaks. You know, some of those helped already, where these Firewise communities have stepped forward, but we need more of those efforts. And so, like I said, it's a different solution depending on which forest you're dealing with.
So it sounds to me like it's a partnership not just between the federal government and the local governments, but also between the people who live here and have businesses here, to make sure they have defensible space, make sure that they're very careful about these things.
You've seen that here in an area that we're looking at right there, the interface. You know, you have to have private property owners and others step forward, not just with the fire, but after the fire with the flooding. We were just in the trailer park that saw about the worst of it, and still is under threat with the rest of the monsoon. So it's certainly the federal government, because I think, what was it, 96% of the burn was in the Prescott Forest, so Forest Service. But you have some state land, a small amount, but then private property as well. And so it's partnerships all over.
Okay, thanks.
You bet.